Christmas is done and we're going on 2021, I thought about coming back to a game and starting Season 2 off with a bang. Unfortunately, it's not the bang I wanted to start off with, due to the fact, well, earlier this year we got two great releases I was really excited for. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'll be coming back to that one day, and Resident Evil 3. This tire dump that's on fire, that represents 2020 as a game development, as a bad example of gaming. This is not fun, this is not great, and everything I'm about to say, whether you agree or not, is how I feel about the game. Everything about this game, Resident Evil 3 Remake, takes an absolute heaping dump upon the original and all the good graces Resident Evil 2 did.
This is not how I expected to start Season 2, but hey ho. Resident Evil 3 Remake had the stars aligned with all the hard work already done by the remake of Resident Evil 2 back in 2019 and Resident Evil 7 back in 2017, with those being such a huge success for Capcom. Utilizing the RE engine, the development time for Resi 3 was 3 years. The development overlapped with Resident Evil 2's development time, however. You can tell, because it really feels like Resident Evil 2 was the favourite game for development, and Resident Evil 3 feels like a mesh of what was left over. To be honest, this could have been a DLC for Resident Evil 2, and it would have been okay. This game also has a multiplayer mode, but I can't really cover this because I never played it, and it never really appealed to me. So upon April 3rd, 2020, a joyful Giddy Ali bought the game, and only in a short few hours could be found in a fetal position, crying for all the wrong reasons. And so to start off with this list, well, we gotta start somewhere. Well, this wasn't bad for a remake, as like the predecessor Resident Evil 2, it kept faithful to the original plot of Resident Evil 3. That's what I'd like to say without vomiting blood and asking more questions than needed, as this sunk back into its ways of trying to be fast-paced horror which should have kept you on the edge of your seat. As you probably guess, this game doesn't deliver on anything like that, just like certain entries of the series. To start off, I will give the plot kudos.
Good idea. Huh.
For starting inside Jill's apartment with the first person perspective and the scene where she slowly turns into a zombie, that was seriously messed up to watch and experience. But as soon as all that tension was built up, it so quickly shoves Nemesis in your face and makes the chase through the apartment block. Once onto the street, you're introduced to Brad Vickers, a surviving member of STARS, who's quickly introduced and gone in the space of 3 to 4 minutes. Meanwhile, you get a quick glance at the downfall of the city being overrun by zombies. This game also quickly flashes another familiar face, a scene with Dario locking himself away in the truck, a nod to the beginning of the original, but as quick as that is, you find yourself in the parking lot facing down Nemesis again to do quick time events, to drive a car with Nemesis off the parking lot, only to be rescued by Colossus and taken to the subway where they're using it as a safe place, whilst being introduced to another character, Mikhail, where all these introductions feel less impactful and less meaningful than the original. And I stress to you, the plot goes this fast. This is only the first 10 to 15 minutes of playing. So the plot places you as Jill running around the streets of the city to get power back in the subway, meanwhile surviving the zombies, reading the diaries, being introduced to Nikolai.
No, wait, please!
Sightseeing, and Nemesis dodging. Once getting the power back on and you make it back to the subway, Jill finds herself again being chased by Nemesis, only to flee into the sewer. Once getting out the sewer that has been infested by the Gamma-type hunters, Nemesis once again makes another appearance, only to chase you up a building site for a boss battle. Does it seem like I'm still going too fast with this summary of the plot? Because this is how fast the game's pacing goes. You don't stay too long in one area enough to be taken in or get a feel for the horror element, which the areas have detail oozing out and could have been so much more than a couple of streets. Very basic sewer, few halls, RPD station. The only location that felt more built up and my time was spent in was the hospital. If I were to be honest, this feels more akin to the older Resident Evil games that were action based than survival horror. And that's what turned a lot of people off the Resident Evil by. Oh, that can't be good. Now I'm going to save your time and mine, but the game speeds you from location to location, and finally, once getting to the subway again, Jill sent on her way alongside Nikolai and Mikhail, while they have a moment of showing us that Nikolai is the true villain, and Nemesis once again shows up on the train, killing all the survivors, and poor Mikhail. But he was good enough to blow himself up and derail the train. Honestly, I didn't notice him have an explosive until the multiple playthroughs later. The plot now switches to Carlos, who is now at the RPD, and this is where the game shows us certain events of how Marvin got bitten and what happened to poor Brad being a zombie. But yeah, again, no sooner are you there than being whisked away by the plot switching back to Jill for a few corridors and a boss battle, to be switched back again to Carlos, taking an unconscious Jill to the hospital. Like I said, the hospital feels more built up as you are looking for
Goddamn Nathaniel Bard!
as he has the only vaccine against the virus. Find out that he's dead, get the cure, get back to Jill, and cure her. Then you do the segment I like to call Mindless Zombie Shootathon. Seriously, this didn't need to exist, this part. After surviving, the game switches you one last time back to Jill, as now it's the final stretch. You have a quick round in the hospital, then you make your way to the underground lab. And this is where the game again speeds you through, making you run through a labyrinth, a Nemesis appearance, synthesize the cure, fucking Nemesis quick time events, boss battle, then final boss battle, and then that's it, the game is done, with an ending that makes little to no sense why it happens. The fact I forgot Nikolai was the villain didn't help, as when I did see him I kept saying, who the hell is this? That didn't help me, as all his character was to show up, say evil things, and skulk off somewhere. Seriously, listen to some of these clips.
Oh, stars, this soft. No wonder so many of you. You see? You're learning. It's not after you. Interest. You've done me a big favor, miss. What do we have here?
Nikolai, don't! The city needs that vaccine!
More than I do. Oh, no. You print money. I like that. We shall make ours an ongoing arrangement.
Even other characters such as Tyrell and Kendo, even
Goddamn Nathaniel Bard!
made very little impact, as you never got any time to get to know or appreciate these characters. Against its predecessor Resident Evil 2's list of 9 characters, each one got enough time to get to know them and get a feel for them. Meanwhile, Resident Evil 3's 11 characters who you do interact with, who are all bland and quickly flashed by you so you couldn't care who they were. When completing the game, sadly there's nothing else to be gained from that. No extra story, no another survivor, no Nikolai's story.
So you get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Sadly, this felt more like a game that was riding on the coattails of Resident Evil 2's success, and expected to be good because of the Nemesis name and the status of it being a great retro sequel. The plot was very half-baked and phoned in. As said, it is akin to less loved sequels, and holds a candle close to Resident Evil Apocalypse the movie, and that is something else, a god-awful level. It's sad that Nemesis' inclusion wasn't as impactful as the original version, as back then it was jarring to see this monster. The fact that he was a personification of horror, a hulking monster who wants you dead and will stop at nothing to do so. Now look at the remake, Nemesis. He just didn't have that scare factor or impact to make my blue jeans go brown. The plot of this game was a true loss. What could have been is a pipe dream, and I think Capcom should have waited till after completing Resident Evil 2 before taking on the task of remaking this game. Okay, so I can't fault the RE engine, as it renders and brings the areas to life, for as short as they are, and even the detail is still oozing gore and gruesome details of the bloodshed and the monster horrific details. They kept the controls to run around and the inventory menus, but they added a feature to dodge if applied at the right time. You're able to dodge a zombie to even Nemesis, and as soon as you do, by aiming your weapon you're able to slow down time for a few seconds and getting a few rounds in, if it ever bloody worked. I don't know what I have to do, but I never in my life got it to work. I said it ages ago in one of my little quick reviews, that if you dodged you got bitten, and that still is true, as many times I've tried dodging only to be grabbed and nibbled on. So now to Nemesis. What once was a chase through a nightmare locations in the original is now a scripted mess with little to no impact. The first time you see him is in the beginning of the game, as you're chased through the apartment building that he is demolishing, going through floors, using the ceiling to try and kill you. But this felt lifeless and could have been even more built up and menacing. Even later, after the power station, you're chased down an alleyway that is broken up by a save room, to then later outside the toy store. I know the AI is programmed that it can't follow into certain rooms, much like Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, but at least he was unpredictable, having free roam with the whole RPD, and could track and trace you like a disgruntled post office worker. Other than that, the puzzle that the good entry in the series is well known for, I found lacking or dumbed down. It was more, here's item A, it can be solved by item B, that's a few rooms away, because all the areas are small, and it didn't help that they weren't taxing on making me think how to solve them. Even the diaries that once told sad stories with information being hidden in them for later parts that the player would need to solve or deal with became very half-assed and were very dumbed down to, here's item A, you will need it. And once read, you'll either find the item right next to the diary or in the same room, and it really hurts the pacing of this game. The best example are the spiders that inject the parasites into you. The player is told to eat a herb in the diary, and in the same location you can find tons of them, but this will only appear in that part of the game, and it can only be about 5 to 10 minutes long, and that is a real loss to the game. If the areas were extended, and you have more complex puzzles, among that having to keep your eyes open and worrying about the array of monsters on top of Nemesis being unpredictable and not scripted, I've just fixed 50% of the game. Okay, so this one pissed in my pot the most. The endgame itself is lacking with an ending that felt more random and very confusing, with the feeling that it was done because of crunch or cuts to make the release. But once beating the game, you're able to take on harder modes to test yourself and get the achievement trophies, but honestly, it's something I'd really suggest not to do, as here are the modes. First, assisted. This is for baby beginners, and the assist is meant to be more health to you, damage reduction, and aim assist. Second is standard. This is suited to players and the ones who want the challenge and everything is basically normal. Third is hardcore. It's difficult but challenging. It's not impossible. After beating hardcore, the fourth mode unlocks Nightmare. It does what it says on the tin. It can kill you fast, give you less health pickups and ammo, and can be very unfair at points if you're not prepared. After beating Nightmare, you finally unlock Inferno. Now, to explain my unbridled rage towards this, you're going to have to put yourself in my shoes. I spent nearly 3 hours on standard mode, didn't die once, got an S rank, and felt very divided how I should have felt about the game. Only to be told as a reward I unlocked a shop feature, instead of a story for the gaping plot holes or even a survivor mode like in Resident Evil 2. So when I unlocked the shop, I found out I could purchase items such as additional inventory slots, coins that have effects, and even unlimited ammo weapon. All these items cost points that you earn by completing challenges throughout the campaign, instead of getting these by achieving certain feats such as S rank on a mode. Now, not far from shattering the controller from this stupid idea, when you want to set out to gain enough points, you'll find that the requirements are bullshit and needing multiple challenges completed before affording an item, as the point value's very stingy. Before I went on hardcore, under the influence it was going to be brutal. I sat down for 5 days straight, grinding out all the challenges so I could afford everything. In doing so, I found out that there were parts I had to do specific segments to complete the certain goals. Best example, having to kill over 2,000 zombies and killing 200 with an assault rifle. I found out I had to load up the Colossus survival segment multiple times, killing about 35 to 40 zombies a turn, and turning it into a cheap carnival game.
You're no longer a pioneer adventurer, you're a guest at Disneyland. Here's your ticket. Be sure to check out Space Mountain Indiana Jones before you leave. Guess Goofy's weight! Win a prize! 120 pounds? No. It's too low.
So it's now been 5 days. You've bought all the weapons, needed, and all the upgrades and bits and bobs you'll need for the hardcore playthrough. You beat it in 2 hours getting an S rank, and you decide to take on the Inferno mode as well, only to be on track at 1 hour and 30 minutes for beating it. And what kills your play? The bloody nemesis at the end. Yes, I didn't beat Inferno mode properly. I call it beaten because this was the breaking point with the boss battle. He has prompts or animations to hint when to move and when he will attack. Well, this is where Resident Evil 3 tosses me off and decides to shaft me. The amount of retries I have, even with loading again, the time keeps going and going. So into hour 3 of the playthrough, I finally lost it and broke, in the process destroying my controller. And it's not like this boss can't be done. I've seen videos of this boss being beaten on Inferno mode, but I just can't. And this is where I decided it was best for me to stop. With this game getting no DLC, or story DLC, or fair updates for the campaign, it was more apparent the focus was getting heavily put onto multiplayer. Like I said, I'm not going to touch on the multiplayer because honestly I didn't pay any attention to it, as the multiplayer in Resident Evil games never really goes well. Does everyone remember Operation Raccoon City? Multiplayer is generally unwanted in Resident Evil games. I have watched a few YouTube channels play 1 or 2 games, but even watching it, it felt very boring and stale, and an add-on that had way too many microtransactions for a shameless cash grab on top of a less subpar game. So after 5 campaign playthroughs, yes, I count Inferno's complete, and multiple parts replayed over and over and ranking up nearly 25 hours plus, could I recommend this game? Fuck no. Honestly, if you want to see the game, go watch Game Grumps, Markiplier, or anyone else play through this game. It's way more rewarding and doesn't cost you £40 for a hot steaming mess. Even picking this up as a pre-owned or half price is still far too much for the game.
So like I said, it's not bad. The list is bad. It's no matter what I try and limit it down to, it's not that bad. It really is bad. Now yes, it was nice that we got a remake. Is it one I really wanted? No. I'd much rather play Resident Evil 7 or the remake of 2 again. And I have done play remake of 2 multiple times now. Just so I kind of go, well, that's a good Resident Evil game. Compared to Resident Evil 3, which is not as successful or very well liked version of a better product. I can't say to anyone to go out and buy this at full price. I can't even say go pick it up on a sale. It's not one I would recommend. Resident Evil 2 was so good. Resident Evil 7 was brilliant. Those two are brilliant designs with the RE engine and a great setting, along with improving upon what was already there and taking the next step in the horror-based games and actually putting the poop back in my pants. Resident Evil 3 just kind of phones it in so hard that it's not even fun. It's not even fair. Hell, everything I've said in this is very true. And if you've played it, fair enough. If you like the game, I'm not going to stop you liking it or saying, hey, you're wrong. But I do say this, that if you really want to test out, go play a demo. Go watch some Let's Plays like Game Grumps, Markiplier. Hell, even watch the Let's Play lads at Achievement Hunt. That will let you know what you're in store for. And when you watch 1 or 2 parts and kind of go, okay, there's not really that scary, and Nemesis is a joke, that you're able to decide whether you're going to play through the game 100% or actually complete it. I wouldn't really recommend playing through it. But I'll stop kicking a dead mule. It's time for the first episode to actually end. And I'm going to end on a note the same way Resident Evil 3 ended on for me. Disappointment. Thank you so much for watching this, people. This is the start of Season 2. I've been working on this one for quite a bit of time. I've also been working on a lot more scripts as well, like Metal Gear 5 is going to be taken on some point this season. Final Fantasy 7, I'm going to be taking on that as well. Original versus remake, that's going to be one hell of a video. That's, I think, going to be towards the end of the season. I don't know, but that is developing into an essay and a half. I do hope you like this. Sorry it's been a while, and I hope you do like the new way I'm started trying to take on these videos. Playlist here, wonderful. Brand new slots. If you want to see Anthem from the season 1, please go check out the video below here. It will actually take you to the playlist of season 1 and see how bad and how far I've come in several years. Anyway, if I have entertained you, please subscribe, hit a like, maybe leave a comment and tell me why I'm wrong about hating this game, or tell me why you agree so much that this game is, honestly, you'd rather go play Anthem over it. Anyway, hope you have liked. Thank you very much. Catch you around for the next one.